Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Welcome. Hi, Sally. I want to welcome you to Collaborative Chats. This is part of my ongoing series where I get to connect with and learn more about members of NYACP. I'm Melissa Goodstein, currently the president of NYACP, and today I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming Sallie Mullins Thompson. Sallie is a financial specialist neutral. Sallie, you can speak about your degrees you have, and you're getting another one, as I understand it too, as we speak. So can you talk a little bit about your background as a financial specialist?
Yes, I'd love to do that. Thank you so much for having me today. So initially, I started with just a BA in psychology. I loved psychology. And then I got a master's of education in guidance and counseling. Because when I came along, women could only be nurses, secretaries, or teachers. And I didn't really want to do any of those three things. So I thought, well, the school systems were putting guidance counselors into the public school system. So I thought the Masters of Education and Guidance and Counseling would be a good thing for me. And then I wrote to IBM and asked them if they had counseling services for their employees. And they said, no, but we have just opened our systems engineering program up to women. Can you believe they actually had this program going for 3 years? It was only open to men.
Oh my God.
Right. But they
Oh,
opened it to women. And of course I had no idea what that was about at all. But I said, absolutely, I'll take that test and see if I can do that. And so we did. And before I could even get back to where I was living in New York City then, I moved up from Florida after my master's of education and guidance and counseling. And they were already calling me to have me come interview with a marketing manager the next day
oh my God.
in the New York banking office.
Oh my God. Wow.
So I went, and in 10 minutes, he offered me the job. So
Wow.
I must have done pretty well on the test.
That's a pretty good test result, I would say.
Right.
Wow. Wow.
So anyway, so I actually stayed with IBM for 20 years. I was a banking industry specialist. So I saw all of the computer industry grow from the big mainframes that took up the floor of
Right.
a whole
Right.
building to the PCs. And it was all in the banking industry. The banks had lots of different little departments that had to be segregated. So I saw all different types of equipment.
Wow.
And
That's
yeah,
amazing.
and I actually got to give input to IBM developers for the teller machines, because back then the teller lines were not automated. So I
Right.
was involved in several studies, like at Citibank and Texas. Well, not trying to think. All those banks are gone now,
Yeah.
except for Citibank.
Citibank, but Citibank had one of those first automated, like the where you had
That
like the machines where
The
you,
ATMs
yeah,
for
the
the
ATM.
money. That's
Yeah,
right. That's
yeah.
right. So everything, and then of course, then everything was checks. So there were the check sorters, and then there were the proof machines that micro encoded the dollar amounts on the checks.
Wow.
So those all had to be sorted too after they were encoded. So I was involved in, and the bankers would always say, Sallie, you're the only person that can explain things to us so we know what you're talking
Wow.
about.
Wow.
So that was sort of my thing. I was really the person that, I really just wanted to help them all be able to use the equipment in the best way possible to make their jobs easier.
So the
So,
communication skills and reframing, for understanding that, like you really employed that early on in your career and was involved
right.
with so much innovation. What a time to be with the IBM. What years were they? Can I ask? Because I don't want
Yeah,
to.
so it was in the very late 60s through the mid 90s is when I
Oh
took.
my God. Wow, that was a lot of innovation during that time. Oh
Yeah,
my
it
God.
really was. It really was. So
Wow.
the history of how computing has developed is
Oh,
interesting.
that's so fascinating. So where did you grow up,
So
Sal?
I grew up in Southeast Florida, basically Palm Beach County,
Uh-huh.
and my family has a lumber business. that is actually the largest lumber business in Southeast Florida. It's a fourth generation lumber company. My nephews have run it. They have just sold it.
Oh,
Yes. And to like literally it's like 10 million over the fair market value.
wow.
Yeah, so they've really done a great job with it. It's really sad a little bit because the legacy of the Mullins, is going. It
Right.
will, and it still got the Mullins name, Mullins Lumber Company, but in 3 years they'll probably change to the new
Wow.
owners. My nephews will step out of it after 3 years. So,
Wow. So is the accent from Florida?
well, I'm not sure.
Because
Because, Florida really is a southern
I
state.
know you don't think of it in that
You
way. You
know,
don't think of it that way, but you have,
right.
yeah.
And like, and so my grandfather, we go back 5 or 6 generations in Florida.
Wow,
And
that's a long time. Wow,
right.
that's
And
like the original the settlers. I mean, 5 or 6 generations. That's
yeah,
Florida's been a
yeah.
state since when? Was it like,
Well, now that part I should know, but
yeah,
I don't.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's a great point. I never thought about that. But
yeah.
my grandfather was very involved in sawmills when they were cutting
Oh,
all the trees down. And he ran sawmills and then he built a sawmill. And the town was so big, it was called Mullinsville, Florida.
God.
And had a post office too.
Oh my God.
Right, because he
Wait, is
had a
it still
whole
there?
town.
Is it still there?
Well, what happened was is when all the trees got cut down, then he turned the land into orange groves.
Wow.
So up until the late 1990s, we had orange groves.
Wow.
And there's a road called Mullinsville Road that runs through the middle of the orange groves. And that road is still there with the sign right off the highway.
My God.
Yes. So
Wow.
we have a picture of my grandson when he was about 2 years old in front of that sign.
Oh my
Mom.
God.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, so I am the only one that left Florida.
Oh,
The rest of
really?
my family is still there. They think I'm crazy, but I think they're crazy, but whatever.
Where did you move to? Where was
I
the
moved to New York
to New
City.
York for the IBM?
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
right. So when I was 14, I went to a boarding school with all girls, and
Uh-huh.
there were a lot of Northeastern girls there.
Oh,
And so they could do all this stuff that I couldn't do. So they could drink, smoke, date, and pierce their ears. And I, at 14, could not do any of those things because I was from the South. And
really?
my mother was raising me to be a Southern belle or something like that. And so I decided then that I wanted to live in the Northeast.
Wow.
So the
Wow.
minute I finished grad school, I left
You
and went
left.
to New York City and got my job with IBM.
Oh, wow. Wow. So so you don't really miss the South, or is there other aspects of the South that really remain with you that you miss or that you long for in any way?
Well, that's an interesting question. I I miss the accent sometime, and whenever I hear a Southerner, and actually being in DC now,
Yeah.
and so that's kind of nice. I, but I don't really long for it. No, the reason I left is because there just weren't the opportunities there
Yeah.
for me
Right.
for what I wanted to
Are
do
you
with my
right?
life.
Right.
You
But that
know,
was very bold of you to leave and to, create a new life away from a generational lineage in that area. That was very brave and yeah, very brave of you to do
yeah.
that.
Well, it was also very exciting too. I
Yeah,
could
I
do
can see that.
that.
Yeah, and that's so where does your passion for your work, like how did you get passionate about your work? Because you're very passionate. You really are. You're a very passionate person, especially about the work that you do. Where do you think that comes from?
Well, I actually think it might come from my father. He was just loved to help people, and I think I got that helping thing from him.
Mhm.
And so I think for me, it's always about helping. It was always about helping the bankers, the tellers in the
Yeah,
teller line, even the computer operators. I actually did training courses for them so that they would understand. I felt like that if they understood some of the concepts of what was going on, it would make them kind of
Wow.
appreciate the whole thing. So,
Wow.
and of course, back then there were no displays. I mean, everything was entered. There were no keyboards. Everything
Yeah.
was entered. The instructions were entered in on the punch cards
Yeah.
that were,
Yeah.
and they were card readers. And
Right.
were, and so, so I just wanted to help people to have more
Yeah.
fun at their jobs.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And did you have any role models? You spoke about your dad. Was there any other role models as you were, in different points in your career that you looked to?
Yeah, so that's interesting because even at IBM, even though they were open to women, there really weren't. There were some, and I do remember some of them. I was on the chemical bank team, which was a bank.
Yes, I remember Chemical Bank.
Right, yeah. That was one of Citibank and Chemical Bank were the two big ones.
Right.
And the head of the marketing team was a woman. And I always really looked up to her. And from her, I was, I was, I was the kind of person a little bit that it was kind of like I wanted things done my way because I
Mhm.
thought that was the right way. But I remember she has such a diplomatic way of talking to the clients, or what we called them customers then, and to us on the team. And so I tried to model myself a lot
Mhm.
a-
Wow.
after her. Uh,
Right.
and there were very few women,
Yeah,
kind of
that's
at that level at that point in time.
for sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but most of it has just been me just being who I am and, you know,
Yeah.
trying to do the right thing for people and help them.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Um, so how
Thank
did
you.
you get into like the divorce area and collaborative divorce? I know you do a lot of mediation work, or can you talk about that? How did what led you to that?
So it's always your own divorce, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times. So my first divorce was in Texas, a community property state
Okay.
in the early 1980s. In
Wow.
Texas, there's no alimony. There's only child support. Now, I was okay because I had the IBM job.
Right.
But around me, the women that were getting divorced, number one, they were not educated financially. And number two, they really, my generation of women, most of them, they were teachers and had stayed at home after they had their children. And so they had pretty much given up any professional career for uh, their husband and
Mm-hmm.
job and their children.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when they got divorced, particularly in Texas, when there was no alimony, no support system for that, there was child support, but everything ended at 18, not at like in New York, the way it is.
Right.
So I saw them, they were not able to maintain financially their children's lives and their lives. They would end up having to remarry or
Mm-hmm.
just really kind of drop out of the thing because they couldn't,
Wow.
it was very sad. And I felt then, I was like, if I could ever have a chance to be able to help those women like that in that position, I
Yeah.
want to do it.
Wow. Wow.
So it's been something in me always. And
Wow.
but first, when I left IBM in the mid 90s, then I had to decide what else I was going to do.
Right.
That's when I decided. So I wanted to be a trusted advisor to people. The number one trusted advisor was CPA. So I'm like, okay, so I'm going to go and get my CPA certificate. So I went and got an MBA in accounting.
Wow.
And I started my practice while I was still in school because it took a while because I had to take some undergrad courses because I'd been out of college for so long.
Right.
And I
Right.
hadn't had any business there because I went to a liberal arts college.
Right.
So I started the accounting practice of my business, which I've had my practice now be 30 years next year. When I started it.
Wow.
So, so wait, I'm sorry, I forgot the question.
No, the question was, how did you get to collaborative
Oh,
divorce? So,
yes.
so you were
So,
first with like IBM, then you got your MBA,
right.
and now, and you've always were interested in,
Yes.
from your first divorce and how women, seemed very, didn't have any power or they felt like they,
Yeah, they were not educated
not
and they really
educated.
were not skilled to make,
Yeah,
enough money. Yeah.
yeah,
But what happened, so I did the accounting first while I
yeah.
was getting the MBA. Then I sat for the CPA exam and I passed it on the first try,
Oh my God,
which was like, yeah, I know. Then
that's pretty
people,
unbelievable. That's pretty good.
yeah, it
And how
really
old, can I
was.
ask you
See, I had to,
how old you were at the time? Because that's like a second career you had.
yeah. So yeah, so in the yeah, so I think I was in my was I in my four? I was in my I think I was actually in my 50s then.
Amazing. That is
Yeah. Yeah,
amazing.
but I loved going to school. There were with
Yeah,
all these young people,
sure.
and everything, of course, was in person then. And I just like to learn. I really do like learning.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed interacting with them. They were great teachers. So then once I got the CPA,
Yeah.
after the 5 years, got the MBA, sat for the exam. I'd been working under a CPA at one of my clients for the accounting. And so I had that experience that I could get the CPA certificate because you had to have 2 years of experience
Hmm.
under a CPA to do it. Then I thought, okay, what's the next thing? I want to do the tax stuff. So I started doing that. So then after that, I decided I wanted to do financial planning because that kind of dovetail. I
Yeah.
wanted to be a one-stop shop for my business owner clients. So I needed the financial planning. So I needed the CFP. So then I had to go. I didn't have to take the CFP curriculum because I was already a CPA. So I did one of those courses, Becker Kaplan course,
Mhm.
study courses, and then I sat for the CFP exam, and then I passed that, and then so that was the next phase,
Right.
and then in 2017 I decided now I'm ready. I can do the divorce stuff. I can help those women. So then I had to figure out, so what do you have to do for that? So, so I researched it, talked to one of the attorneys I talked to in 2012, I remember, was Andrea Vacca.
Oh, wow. That was a while ago. Yeah. So Andrea's
Yeah.
was the past president of NYCP.
Right,
Them.
right. And I knew,
Yeah.
yeah. And I said, I'm a CPA, but I really want to help the women going through divorce. And she told me about there was a certificate you could get for that.
Right.
And so I've kept all those notes. And then in 2017, I pulled them out. And at that point, there was just one place to get the certificate, and that was the CDFA from the IDFA.
Yeah.
So then I got that, and then started joining the organizations, the mediation. I did the mediation training. I did
Wow.
the mediation practicum for a year, and I got to do the financial work for the mediation center for their clients coming through.
Wow.
And then I basically opened my doors in the fall of 2019. I also took a mentoring course through the ADFP to learn how to set my business up, what forms to use, and that sort of thing. So I was all ready for that. And
That's
so then I've been doing that ever since. And it's about a third. I probably do 40% of the tax stuff, and
hmm
then maybe 30% of financial planning, a lot of tax planning for retirement,
hmm
like so that you can have a tax efficient retirement, and
Yeah.
then the other 30% in the divorce financial planning.
Wow. So, so in terms of your work in a collaboration, how would you can come in as a financial neutral, But you can also come in with your expertise in financial planning and tax preparing in other areas. Did I get that right? You can come
Right.
in certainly as a neutral, but also as a support for clients who might need more support in planning their financial future and need someone beyond the collaborative process or even beyond a mediation. Can you
Right,
speak to that?
exactly.
Yeah, do you work with couples and or individuals in that way who are
I
going?
do. As a matter of fact, I have several clients that I've done that for. I was worked with them as a support and educator just for them, so not as a
Yeah,
financial neutral. And then afterwards, they asked me to help them with their, with with because some of them had never managed money
that's
before.
right.
Going back to so many women have
Yeah,
left it to either another professional or to their husbands, and then they don't understand all the ramifications. So that is definitely something that I can do. And then the other thing that I could also do, um, because I have this strong accounting background for businesses,
that's right.
then the other thing I can do is I can go into a business, look at their general ledger, look at their all their statements, bank accounts, credit card statements, look at their tax returns, because I do tax returns for businesses.
Mhm.
And I can tell you what the income is from that business. I can't value the business, but I can tell you what the
No,
true business income is. And that's a very, very important thing for if there's a business and a divorce, knowing the true income, you need that for the support
yeah, for
calculation
sure. Oh,
to
it's most
figure.
definitely, and it's always very challenging because if you don't know how to read that tax return or what's reported and what's actual are two different things, and you're trying
Mhm.
to maintain lifestyle and meet needs in a responsive way. So that's really good to know, Sally, that you can come in that capacity because that support is certainly needed. Do you,
Right.
in terms of like is there a number one divorce tip that you have in being divorced yourself, going through it and also working in the field? Is there any takeaway about a tip that comes to mind that you can offer?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So actually, my first and thought of that is taxes must be considered in the divorce.
Yeah,
Of course, everybody knows that I
I
think
know.
that way. So, but the other thing too is I think the whole idea of the team
Yeah.
that, you need different people for different things.
Hmm.
And that goes for your whole life as well.
Hmm.
And so I think the cool thing about collaborative is that you've got all the different experts and they're not found in one person. So my tip would be don't look for everything from one person,
Hmm.
and don't use your attorney to be your therapist or to be your tax person. Make sure you have a team. So I tell all my clients as they enter, and this includes my business clients too.
Hmm.
I actually do a pro bono um, presentation to the people going through the New York City Fast Track program. They're all business owners starting their businesses. So I'm a guest speaker at several of
Hmm.
the cohorts where I talk about the strong foundation that you need in place for your business to grow from and for you to build your business from. And one of those pillars is the team of people that
Hmm.
you need to have. And the same thing applies for if you're going through a divorce, the same thing applies for your life.
That's right.
So that would be really the big, and so find the right person that fits your situation for that particular thing.
That's great advice, especially divorce, which is not just financial, it's emotional, it's communication, it's parenting, it's so many different threads. And getting a team of professionals to assist you is so important. That's a great tip, Sally. So in terms of I know the work sometimes that we do is kind of is hard. Do you do anything like on your off-duty time that's gives you some relief from some of the stress of a grind of working?
Yes. So my thing is I walk for an hour. I
That-
walk for an hour every day.
That's great.
And
That,
usually it's a 3 mile walk. Uh,
wow.
because I feel like the physical activity is important. And also it's just a mini vacation for my mind during that hour.
That's amazing. Do you listen to music or podcasts, or is it silent, or how do you do that?
It's silent. So because of my hearing disability, which I've actually had since I was a little girl, and the noise, it's like it's too much.
That's
It's like
okay.
everything's sort of scrambled and
Hmm.
noisy, and so I love the
The
silence.
silence, right. It's very meditative. That's amazing, Sally. That's great. I'm a big walker myself, so I could appreciate that. Do you have a memorable NYCP experience? I know you've been a member since you got your training in 2019, our last in person before the pandemic, you made it in.
Yeah.
And is there a memorable NYCP experience that you comes to mind?
Yeah. Well, I think my most memorable ones, I mean, I loved that. Oh my gosh, I just loved that training. I was just like blown away by it. And
Really,
I was
that's
just
amazing.
so in awe of the trainers and how they did it and just the whole process. So that was a pretty incredible experience.
That's
And
great.
then after COVID, the fact that you all do the Zoom meetings and I can like attend them regardless.
And you are an amazing, you're like our number one attender, Sally. I mean, she got like this gold star. Sally would be at every pod meeting. We would have webinars, our racial equity media club. You are just really engaged and you really participate and you're all in. And it's very, I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I actually even attend the one in Syracuse.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Wow.
that
Yes.
Nancy Gardenia, I think her
Oh,
name.
up in oh, okay. Yeah. She's
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Syracuse.
So yeah, they let me attend and I
That's
love
amazing.
it.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
And I know that we're compiling NYCP is having its 25th anniversary on December in 2025. I'm kind of working on combining a cookbook. I don't know if you've cooked, if there's a last meal that you cooked, or if you have a signature dish, or if you don't cook, is there just something that you could offer for this cookbook or not?
Oh, well, actually, no, I don't cook. I cooked in my first marriage. In my second marriage, I had a husband who cooked. He went
Oh
to the
yeah,
grocery store and everything. I
that's
just
amazing.
gave him the list.
Oh my
And
God.
I would
Was he a
come
good cook?
home and he would have dinner ready. And then my current husband, neither one of us cook.
Oh,
And so we would just go out to eat.
okay.
So,
Okay.
so, so I don't have anything, but I do melt cheese on toast
You
in a
did.
toaster oven.
Okay,
I don't know if that counts.
okay,
And
what
then
kind of
sometimes
cheese?
I put like sunflower seeds on it. So
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I've never seen that. So you make the toast with and what kind of cheese do you use?
well, I mostly use cheddar, but like
Cheddar?
sort of French, like a Saudi
Yeah,
cheddar.
yeah, yeah. But you put sunflower seeds on the
Well,
top.
I do that after I pull it out
Yeah,
of the
yeah, but I like
toaster
that.
oven. It's not even a real oven. I pull it
I
out and I put the sunflower
I
seeds.
like that topping. I haven't thought of that. I
Yeah, I
like
like
that.
the crunchiness.
Oh, I love that. I like that tip. Could you share
Okay.
that? I think
Okay.
it's really
Well,
interesting. Is there a favorite dish that when you go out that you like to be served or someone to cook for you?
oh yes, love it.
What's your favorite dish to be cooked
Well,
for?
usually it's either, well, so I'm pretty vegetarian,
Yeah.
but I'm supposed to have animal protein, so I'll usually get a steak. I mean, like
Okay.
with the fillet, you know, that
Okay.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. You were in Texas too, so they must have had some good steak.
Well, yes, but Texas is not like, I'm not like, that's not my favorite state at
Oh, it
all.
isn't. Okay, New
No.
York maybe or something. And finally, Sally, as we're closing out our chat, which has been so lovely, where do you hope to be in 10 years and where do you hope collaborative practice to be?
Okay. So in 10 years, I hope to still be working. And by then, hopefully, I will have gotten my master's of taxation
Are you working on that
degree,
now? That's
right, which is
amazing.
what I'm working on
Oh,
now.
always learning. That's amazing. That's great.
Right.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that will be, if I can do this, it'll be my third master's degree. So I'm very,
God,
and I'll be able to add another initial after my
go
name.
for it. Go for it. Yeah. And where do you hope collaborative practice to be?
Yes. So I want collaborative practice to be a common household name, just like mediation is.
Yeah.
And I want it to account for, well, both of those processes, but I want to account for at least 90% of all divorce processes used.
I love it. That's a great intention and a vision, and I like that. And that's a great close to our time today. So, Sallie, if people want to reach you, is there a website? Do you have like what's a good way of contacting
Yeah, so I
you?
do have a website actually.
Great.
But I don't know if you want me to give it to you,
No,
but
no, but you
probably,
know what? Yeah, but it's on, but is it a
yeah,
simple
it's
name?
on all my stuff.
Oh,
And
good, good.
yeah, and and it's actually has a ton of content on it, a
That's
lot of
amazing.
financial planning stuff.
Okay.
And it's actually through my broker dealer RIA for my CFP. So it's got a lot of investment stuff. I mean, it's just got everything on
That's
it.
great. That's
I
great.
don't write it. It's like I pay to have it put
But
there.
it's a lot of, it's a lot
Yeah,
of
it's a lot of
information.
wonderful
Oh, that's
information.
great. A lot of
Yeah.
resources.
And then,
Well,
of course, they can always email me. So,
that's terrific. Well, your contact information is all online and we'll have it with our collaborative chats. And thank you, thank you, thank you for
oh, well,
spending
you're
the
so
time.
nice to interview me today and give me this
Oh
opportunity.
my
So,
God.
thank you so much.
Oh yeah, and I've only cracked the surface. I can speak longer. You have such an interesting life, Sallie, and thanks for sharing that.
Well, it's been a long one, so that's
It's,
part of it. You
well,
know?
it's been wonderful connecting with you and for
Oh,
our members
and
and
you too. So, thanks again. You take care.
you take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.